Hello, folks, and welcome to the second Q&A for the channel. First, I want to thank you guys. We're up to 3,407 subscribers, so thanks for helping us get this far. Here's to hoping we hit 100,000 by the end of this year. Wouldn't that be nice? So let's go ahead and just jump right in. I'm going to be answering these questions randomly because it put them in random order. I don't quite understand why. But anyway, whatever. YouTube comments. First off, Andrew Tsai. I'm assuming the T is silent, probably. Maybe Tsai or just Tsai. Anyway, he asks, what inspires you to create videos? What inspires me to create videos? There's a few things that really push me to make it. First off, I did start this off as a hobby. I had absolutely no intentions of even monetizing my videos. It was going to be something that I just did it because I enjoyed it. And the more I did it, the more I realized that, hey, I'm pretty decent at this. I don't think I'm great. I still think I have a long ways to go in several areas. But overall, I think I had the potential to be able to get a viewer base large enough to possibly do this full time. So that also helps me do it. But the truth is, and I think this is a good indicator of if you're doing what you love, is that if tomorrow there was just no way to make money off of this, right? You couldn't monetize videos. You couldn't monetize streams of games, things like that. Everything just went to hell and it was impossible to make money off of this. Would I still do it? The answer is absolutely yes. I would still do this. So I guess to answer the question, I just like doing it. And I also like trying to grow my audience. Like that's a challenge in itself that I enjoy. I like trying to tackle that challenge, trying to think about, what's a good way to get my name out there? What's some videos that I could do to attract a new audience? What are some things that I can do to get my existing audience to watch my videos more often? That's why you're seeing things like the Tea Times where I talk about various things. That's where the gaming podcast comes in, Super Game Talk Turbo HD Remix, which you should totally check out, that I do with Cabanius. And that's where the Let's Tries have come in, and a few other things. And that's what sometimes you'll see these random videos. And by the way, I tend to talk a lot, so this will probably be very long video. So hopefully you guys are okay with just me babbling on. But anyway, that's why you'll also people, especially who have been subscribed for a while, will notice that sometimes I'll do kind of a special video here and there, and it'll just kind of drop off. For example, I have a Devil May Cry 3 Hell in Hell video, like one of them, where I was going to go through and not get hit at all. And I dropped that one because it didn't get as many views as I was hoping it would. And two, it took a lot of time because while I'm pretty good at that game, I'm not that good to go through entire stages without getting hit at all. So I kind of abandoned that. Well, I didn't kind of. I pretty much, pretty much. I abandoned that series completely. So I try not to abandon series too much, but I don't want to restrict myself and say, well, I'm just not going to try that, because I do want to try new things to, to see what people like and, find out what works and what doesn't. So anyway, all of that is part of it. And I just love doing it. I love improving. I love looking back at my videos. And if you look back to my Dead Space 2 videos, like that was the first ones I did, they're so awful. The video, the audio quality was terrible. My commentary was terrible, and it's nice to be able to look. It's nice looking forward and seeing how I have improved and how there's still room for improvement. So I guess all of those things really help to get me to want to keep doing this. And I've always wanted to be something in the gaming industry ever since I was younger. And I don't think I like development programming, but I haven't done it in over a decade, and two, I don't know if game programming is something I'd be interested in. So this is a possible way that I could have gaming involved as a career, if maybe one day I get my channel to that point. So that was a very long answer to that question. And Andrew has a follow-up question. What's your recording software setup? I record using Bandicam. For the most part, Bandicam is good. They've been annoying me here recently. A lot of times you guys might notice when you're watching a video and like a half a second gets cut out, That's happening because Bandicam is making a new file, and I have it set that way because I'm worried about like if the game crashes or Bandicam crashes or or the computer shuts down for some reason, then I don't get a corrupt file. So I like to split them up. So worst case scenario, I've lost, 10, 15 minutes as opposed to losing 2 hours of footage. So, and which has happened before, and it sucks. Let me assure you. But yeah, so every time it makes a new file, there's that like half-second split. And I've actually posted on their forums. They said it's a known issue and they're working on it, but it's not a high priority. So I'm starting to think I might need to switch to Dxtory, which is another one. Anyone who's looking to do Let's Plays, don't do Fraps. Fraps used to be the gold standard. They just refuse to update Fraps and bring it up to modern standards. And out of the three, Fraps, Dxtory, and Bandicam, I would say Fraps is by far the worst. It's easy. That's kind of nice. It's pretty much just install it and go, but it's just not good. I'm not going to go into super details, but just suffice to say, stay away from Fraps. Either get Bandicam or Dxtory. And then as far as my editing, I use Sony Movie Studio. It's Sony Movie Studio 12 Platinum. It's a consumer level product, so it doesn't have all the bells and whistles that Vegas has, but Vegas is literally 6 times more expensive. It's like $600 for Vegas, I think, $500 or $600. And for the most part, Movie Studio does everything I want it to do. There is one awesome plugin that I would advise that you get if you're looking at doing this. That'll split your video. Like, you can split your video up and then say, all right, encode each split into its own video. That's a big time saver so that you can encode like, 2 hours of video split into, 6 parts overnight. It's really nice. Let's see. Oh, another name that I'm not going to be able to pronounce. Onizuka GTO. It's close, right? I think it's Onizuka GTO. First question, where are you from? I am from Georgia, rural Georgia. I grew up in a relatively small town. It wasn't tiny by any stretch, but it was a small town called Cartersville. And I grew up there. I went to Wyoming. I lived in Wyoming for 2 years, my sophomore and junior years of high school. And if you're not familiar, like if you're out of the United States and not familiar with the various states, Georgia is a southeastern state, very southern, kind of rednecky. And Wyoming is in the northwest and very cold and desolate. When I lived in Wyoming, our closest neighbor was over, I think, 1 or 2 miles away was our closest neighbor. If I would have graduated there, I would have had, I think it was like 35 people in my graduating class. Not 3,500, 35 people. The graduating class of like 92 or 93 was a dozen people. So it was a very small high school, definitely very different. But that's how I grew up. And then I came back to Georgia, and that's where I live now is Georgia. I've been here ever since. What would you like to be full-time? Job, hobby, lifestyle, etc. if you had a chance to do it? Well, this is what I would like to do, not doing a Q&A, which that'd be interesting. Somebody that's their only job is doing questions and answers. That'd be awesome. Seems like people would not be that interested anyway. But yeah, doing the YouTube thing, doing the streaming thing, absolutely, I would love to do that as my full-time job. And I'm working to that. I'm nowhere near close enough. By my estimates, very, very, very rough estimates, I'd probably need about 50,000 subscribers, relatively consistently watching. And I'm at, not even a fifth of that. So we got a long ways to go. But I still remain realistically optimistic. I consider myself a realistic optimist. I look on the bright side, but on the other side, but I'm also try to keep within the realm of reasons. And I'm not really working right now. I'm looking for work. But in the meantime, I spend pretty much all of my time working on the channel. As a matter of fact, I have a video called Day in the Life of a Let's Player or something. You might want to watch that if you're just curious of what I do every day. It's super, super exciting. But yeah, this is absolutely what I love to do. I love thinking about it. I love working on it. Even the parts I don't like, I like to do. And, I've worked in the, office environment a lot. And just the thought of kind of going back to that, going back to the cubicle life, working like 8 hours a day, working for a boss who may or may not be competent or smart, or good leader, just not appealing to me at all. I mean, I'll almost certainly have to do it unless I suddenly get a shout out from PewDiePie or Boogie or some other huge YouTuber. But short of that, yeah, I probably have to do it eventually. But I do plan to keep doing the channel regardless. But yeah, absolutely, I would love to do this forever. And finally, why are you so bad with video game bows? Oh, that's a cute question. Hold on, let me ban that ass 1 second. No, but seriously, yeah, I know I'm terrible with bows. Which is funny because I like to use them. I'm not picking my nose. I rub my nose a lot. It's huge. Look at that thing. It's gigantic. I have to rub it a lot. But yes, I am bad with bows. Even though, again, that's the weapon of choice for me. Or a sniper rifle. Depends what game it is. Vlodril. Again, you people purposely come up with names that I cannot pronounce. Vlodril, which I've talked to you quite a few times. Who is your favorite LPer and why? I don't know if I have a favorite. I have a few people that I can consistently watch. 666, the Heartless 666. Despite having a terrible name, he's consistently good and consistently entertaining. I think he's a very good commentator, and he's always coming up with funny things to say. And I just think he's just an all-around good Let's player. I think Northern Lion is also really good. He doesn't do a lot of Let's Plays anymore, but in general, as a general YouTuber, he's very good. If you haven't seen Northern Lion's, oh god, which one is it? I think it's Grey's Anatomy. He plays through Grey's Anatomy. That shit is hilarious. You need to watch that. Manga Minx / RPG Minx. She used to be Manga Minx, but she switched to RPG Minx. You might see her. She does a lot of collabs with PewDiePie and Ohmwrecker, people like that. And not to get all hipster, but I liked her before she was famous. I liked her. I followed her when she was Manga Minx, and I'm actually a moderator on her channel. I've been going to her chat channel for a long time on Steam, but I think she's really good. To be honest, I haven't been watching a lot of other Let's Players at all, just because I tend to focus so much on the channel now. I try to be always doing something that's channel related, so I don't really watch Let's Play as much. But I think those are probably my favorite. Necroscope deserves a plug as well. I think Necroscope is also a great Let's Player. Though, to be honest, with Necroscope, I hate that he won't swear. Which, the Heartless is the same way. But Necroscope is kind of worse, because he keeps saying, like, mother fudger all the time. It's like, come on. It's like, you're talking about sex and making that's what she said jokes the whole time, but you won't say shit. It's like, come on. But anyway, he seems like a great guy in general, though, and I think he's also really great Let's Player. And oh, by the way, Robaz, the king of Sweden, absolutely. Again, he doesn't do many Let's Plays, but I think he is goddamn hilarious. So anyway, if I think of everybody else, I feel like I'm missing someone. But those are probably my all-time favorites. Fog Knight, hello Fog Knight. Let's see, he says, would there be any chance for Let's playing any next-gen, current-gen games? It's current-gen now, as Capanius would say. Just curious about that since you said you have a DualShock 4. Hey, I bought my controller before getting the console. A lot of people did, actually. I did not, though. Also, any plans for collaborative projects sooner or later? I guess I could answer the first question first, eh? Let's playing new next-gen, current-gen consoles. I would like to, but I don't have a capture card. I can stream PS4 games, and I've done Assassin's Creed and Resogun a little bit. But I don't have a capture card, so I could stream them, but I can't capture them just yet. Xbox, whenever they finally get their fingers out of their asses and get Twitch streaming, I'll be able to do that as well. But So currently no plans. I would love to, but I don't have a capture card. So, and capture cards are like $200, like the good one. The Elgato, I think is like $200. So yeah, it's not cheap. But I've wanted one for a while, but honestly, I've got enough on my plate that I've got a backlist. I could seriously not buy a new game for the next year and still not run out of games to play /LP. So while I would like to do some next gen games that are console exclusive, I probably won't because I don't want to spend the money for the capture card, and I've got enough Steam games to do that anyway. Let's see. Also, any plans for collaborative projects sooner or later? If so, would it be a game in XCOM, playing a cooperative competitive game, etc.? I don't have any collab plans. I really should work on that because that is one great way to grow your channel, and it's just fun to do collaborations. Actually, several times I had planned to do collaborations. Sorry, I keep scratching my nose. It always itches, especially when I'm recording. But yeah, I've made plans, and like every time they fell through with various people. Like I had planned to do one with Drenny91 or Asa, as she was later known. But she's kind of not been doing many Let's Plays anymore, and some other people I plan to do things with. Then there was that sort of co-op Mirror's Edge run with Parlock, where we both were running the game differently. But other than that, no collabs going on, and none planned. But I really need to start doing that. Wow, I've really gotta. Why is my nose scratching or itching so bad now that I'm doing this? Very annoying. As far as what type of game it would be, it depends. Oh, I actually do have. I'm supposed to do a collab with some of my Patreon supporters as well. We're still trying to nail down what we're going to play, though. It might end up being Loadout, I think. But would it be a co-op or competitive? Honestly, I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends on who it is I'm playing with, how many people, and what people want to do. I'm fine with both collab and like some kind of Team Fortress type deal or whatever. Good luck with future videos then. Well, thank you very much, Fog Knight. Next, we have Ethan Carl. He says, hey, it would be really nice if you could post a link to the playlist of the series you post. You make things convenient. Or just make things convenient. By the way, I love screaming at you through the screen. There are some things about LPers you have love. The thing is, you mean maybe you have to love. Anyway, like their terrible video game archery. Man, people give me shit about archery all the time. I'm going to ban every one of you people. But yes, I know. Archery problems. Now, I'm not quite sure what you mean by posting a link to the playlist. If you check underneath do you mean like on Twitter or on Google Plus? I'm not quite sure what you mean, because if you look in the descriptions for videos, one of the very first links is, or well, should always be the playlist. So if you click on any video on my Dark Souls list, if you go under the description, my playlist link for Dark Souls should be there. It'll take you to the first video, or actually no, it shows you. Wow, I suck tonight. It takes you to a listing of Dark Souls, so you can just click the video you're on. And I try to be on top of my playlist because I know how incredibly annoying it is to be watching someone like a new series, and you get to video 3 in the playlist, and then you find out they've got 3, 4, 5 more videos they just haven't added to the playlist yet. I realize how incredibly annoying that is. So I try to get videos in my playlist very quickly. But yes, if you look under the description of my video, there should be a link to the playlist there. If that's not what you mean, just let me know. And you can always just respond to your comment on this video, or you can just hit me on Twitter, which I'm actually pretty active on. By the way, make sure to follow me on Twitter, people. That's where I'm the most active. Another name that I have problems with. Egil Sakalinskite? I'm sorry, I'm terrible at pronouncing names. Did you planning finish your Let's Play for Diablo 3 Demon Hunter? Or is he already dead? He's talking about I had a Demon Hunter, hardcore mode LP that I was doing, mostly for funsies. It wasn't like a serious thing. I just kind of wanted to try a hardcore mode. And I ended up liking the character, so I think I started to actually record it and Let's Play it. But I don't have any plans for that. He's not dead though. He is still alive. But I don't have any plans to pick that up right now. Maybe when the expansion drops, maybe. I don't know. We'll have to see. Lambent Productions says, "How do you like your coffee?" I don't like coffee. In fact, I don't like the taste of coffee, and I hate the smell. Whenever I go to the grocery store and I had to pass the damn coffee aisle, I always hold my breath and like walk quickly through the coffee aisle, or at least the coffee part of the aisle. I hate coffee, which I know is weird. And going to Starbucks is just torture for me. But I hate coffee. I've always hated coffee. Fashion tips. Just put on whatever you want. People love that. If you want to wear a robe out to the club, I think people will respect that. And I think ladies will respect that. Ladies, the same goes for you. You want to wear a robe to the club? Knock yourself out. Guys will love it. Favorite type of Pop-Tart? Probably the brown cinnamon, I think it is. The brown cinnamon ones are good. Also, the s'mores Pop-Tarts are damn good. They're a little bit too sweet for me, though. So I would go... I mean, I'll still eat them. I mean, look at me. I'll eat anything. But hopefully my mouth is synced up right. I have to fix it in post, probably. But anyway, yeah. But if I had to pick between the s'mores and the brown cinnamon, probably the brown cinnamon, because it's a little less sweet. And I actually don't like to eat a lot of sweet things. It says, "Thank you for your time." Well, thank you, Lambent Productions, for your time. Next, we have Camilio400. What's your favorite thing about YouTube? I think my favorite thing about YouTube is the ability for people, like just normal people like me and whoever, to be able to produce content, whether it's game content, where it's a comedy channel, or a how-to channel on cooking, or whatever it is, or just whatever that is that people are doing, can make this content. And if it's really good, and if it appeals to a lot of people, they can become popular. They can make a living doing it. All these, these YouTube people that have come around. Look at some of like the makeup channels. You've got those ladies who the makeup tutorials, and they've got like millions of subscribers. That's great. I think it's cool that people can take something they're passionate about, take something they love, and make a career out of it thanks to YouTube. And I guess technically you might be able to do that, do some of this in other areas. Like if you're really good with makeup, obviously you could probably, work somewhere in the makeup industry, but you're probably just going to be like a drone in the company. Or if you wanted to make comedies, you're either going to be stuck making like indie movies or features, which is not a bad thing, but you're not going to reach as many people, right? And the thing is, and people are always harping on some folks who get big on YouTube, and they're just doing it for money. They're just doing it for money. I don't doubt there's people out there who do that. But when you make this stuff, you want people to see it. You want a lot of people to see it. That's part of the reason you do it, is you make it and you want other people to experience it. You want other people to give you their feedback. Well, some people want your feedback. I want your feedback, positive or negative. But I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome that just some schmo in his house, like me, can, if you're pretty good at something or you're really good at something, can create a living out of it and reach a lot of people so that they can experience and enjoy whatever it is that you do. I think that's the best thing about YouTube. And I bitch about YouTube a lot because they do a lot of really, really stupid things. But that aspect of YouTube and just the internet in general is totally badass. Like, I mean, without the internet, without YouTube or sites like YouTube, or Twitch now, this whole thing of making a living doing this game content, whether it be Let's Plays or things like Northern Lion does, where he's got excuse me, where he does, you know, reviews and previews and things like that. That would never happen. You couldn't be able to get, unless you got in with some website, like a game news site like Destructoid or Giant Bomb or something like that. It just wouldn't happen. And there's, you know, I'm sure 1,000 people trying to work for those sites. But, you know, YouTube and the internet really opens it up so that if you're good at what you do and if you put the effort in and you put the time in, you can reach a large audience and you can make a living doing it. So yes, that is my favorite thing about YouTube. Lid2Zs. I've never really understood how to pronounce your name. Is that a reference to something? Lid2Z, or is that like, I don't know, Lids? I don't know. Anyway, will you do any more co-op Let's Plays with other Let's Players or even Capanius? I kind of answered this before. I would like to, but honestly, I'm always so focused on, I kind of get tunnel vision and I'm working on my own stuff so much that I end up like not even considering it. Like I think about it, but then I don't pursue it. So it's not really something I do. I would like to do some more co-op with Capanius. Capanius's time is a bit hard to get a hold of sometimes. That's why sometimes we don't always have a weekly, like we go a week without the podcast. So it might be even harder to get like a consistent co-op because I really don't like having inconsistent series, right? And like if we did a co-op with Diablo, just as an example, I wouldn't want it to be, oh, you get 2 videos this week and then not another one for 2 weeks. I don't like that kind of inconsistency. If it was like once a week, fine, but as long as it was consistent. And I realize I say this as right now my videos are inconsistent, but I promise you I'm trying something new and I'm hoping that will actually help dramatically with my consistency. And I'll probably be doing a new Chronicles of a Let's Player to talk about that at some point. Let's see. Ghost Girl 57. She asks, how did you come up with your channel name? That's something I came up with. Vertigo Tea Party is a title I came up with a long time ago. It was back when I was still playing EverQuest. And when World of Warcraft was still in beta. And I got into the World of Warcraft beta pretty semi early on. I had a friend who knew people. And he had an account that he didn't really use. So he let me log in with it. And I logged into WoW and I was like, wow. I'm like, no pun intended. I was like, this blows the doors off of EverQuest. I was like, this is so much better. I'm like, as soon as this comes out, I'm gone, like without question. So, and I was doing raiding. I was a raid leader in EverQuest for like a raiding alliance. And I wanted to have a guild in World of Warcraft. And I wanted to, pull some of the people from EverQuest that I knew and make my own guild. So I tried to think of a cool name for it. A cool, unique name. Vertigo is a word that I've always liked. Well, I won't say always. Like I had heard of it. Like for example, Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo. But then, oddly enough, there was this fighting game where you played as dinosaurs, and one of the characters was called Vertigo. And I really liked that character, and I liked the name. I was like, wow, Vertigo. I was like, that's just a cool word. I really like that. I like that word. I like that name. So that name had been stuck in my head for a long time. And I also like the whole Alice in Wonderland like story, and I guess the mythos. Does that even count as a mythos? I don't know. Anyway, I like the whole Alice in Wonderland thing. So I wanted to kind of tie that into the name. And Vertigo, if you're not familiar, Vertigo is like you have problems with like balance. And I'm not sure the exact details, but like if you've watched Arrested Development, you've seen the one lady who has vertigo, but where they have a hard time, like their balance gets all screwed up and whatnot. So I thought, okay, that's not really madness, but it's some kind of like a disorder and a kind of being thrown off balance, and I thought, okay, you could tie that into Alice in Wonderland somehow, because it's kind of a crazy mixed up thing. And the Tea Party is a famous scene from Alice in Wonderland. And I thought, well, the Tea Party was kind of a weird event. So let's go with Vertigo Tea Party. and I thought it had a good ring to it, Vertigo Tea Party. Funny enough, and I chose this has nothing to do with the political party Tea Party. And it's funny whenever I get a follower on Twitter, since it doesn't happen that much, I'll click on their name to see their description. And a lot of times I'll see descriptions like conservative voter of the blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, this person thinks I have something to do with the actual Tea Party. And on a rare occasion, I'll get a YouTube message that says something about blah, 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 support the conservative Tea Party and blah, blah, blah. Something like that. It's like, okay, you obviously didn't look at my channel at all. If you think my channel is about politics. So yeah, that's an unfortunate coincidence. But yes, that is how I came up with the Vertigo Tea Party name. And one of the very few names that I've ever come up with that I actually liked. See, all right, next, XXX Blackwater XXX. What was your job? What is your job? Well, what was my job? The last job I had was I was a quality assurance engineer at McAfee. Yes, the people who do the antivirus and the firewall. In my defense, I had nothing to do with that section. We worked on a product called Safe Eyes. Its purpose was basically to keep kids from looking at pornography. So I worked on that end. So don't blame me because the antivirus was crappy. And but anyway, yeah, they ended up laying off our entire office. So we all lost our jobs. That was like a year ago. And I had a lot saved up. I tend to be a very fiscally conservative person. Fiscally paranoid might be another term that you might use. But so I had a lot saved up. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a lot of time off. And that a lot of time off is stretched more than intended. So I am looking for something. So I'm not doing it. My job right now is looking for a job, I guess you could say. But I have some interesting prospects. I'm not really crazy about the quality assurance job itself. I find I'm relatively good at it because I tend to approach situations logically. So when a programmer says, okay, this is what this function is going to do, my mind immediately splits off to, okay, how can I break this? How can I make this not work? If you're not familiar, quality assurance, in short, basically looks for bugs in software and then reports them to the developers. So, and oddly enough, this is going to sound insane, but oddly enough, being a dungeon master for a while helps with that, because if you've played D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, and especially if you've ever been a DM, you know that it's like, okay, I've got this adventure planned out. They're going to meet in the inn, and they're going to run into this ruffian, and he's going to push a piece of paper into your hand that says, please help me. I'm north of the castle. Please help. And then, your party's going to go north to find out what's going on. Sure enough, that party will go, nah, screw it. We're going to go south. And you have to, oh crap, what do I do now? Like the entire adventure was planned to go up north. So you end up trying to think, okay, if they don't go north, what do they see? Because you don't want to get caught off guard. And you don't want to be like, well, you go south and nothing happens. Like, you don't want to do that. That's lame. It's a bad DM. So you want to try to come up with different ways that they might approach a situation. Oddly enough, that actually has helped me with quality assurance. Again, I know that sounds very bizarre, but it has helped. See, why do you upload so many high quality videos when you have so few views? That is why excuse me again. Wow, burpee tonight. That is part of the reason that I upload so much. And by the way, thank you for calling them high quality videos. I appreciate that. But I upload a lot partially so that I can get that drawing. Because if I have more series going on, I have more chance of pulling new people in, right? Because if, let's say I'm just running Fable. Well, Fable's going to take a month and a half, 2 months to finish. And if I'm not uploading anything else, if somebody's not looking for Fable or they're not interested in Fable, they're not going to find my channel. And possibly worse, if they're subscribed and all they're seeing is Fable videos, then they might unsubscribe. It's like, well, I'm not interested in this, and you just spam in my inbox, so screw this. So I try to diversify my content. That's why I tend to try to have 4 to 5 series running at a time, well, 3 to 5, and have them different, like one RPG, one FPS, one adventure game, whatever. That hasn't happened lately. I have like 2 RPGs running and like 2 FPS, something like that. But I do try to, diversify them, because I figure if somebody's not going to watch Duke Nukem, they're not going to watch Quake or Rage or Shadow Warrior or whatever. So I do try to diversify. But also, I like the challenge of trying to put up a lot of content. I want to make it decent, of course. Well, I want to make it great. But I'm not there yet. But I like putting out a lot of content. To be honest, even like 5 videos a day, eventually I get complacent. I'm like, man, 5 a day, or not complacent. I get impatient. I'm like, man, 5 videos a day. That's not enough. I need to do more. So it's kind of a drive to just a natural drive I have to put out more content. And also it's kind of planned, because again, more different content equals pulling in new people. And that's why, again, I'm hoping that you guys start to see more tea time videos. I know some of you in particular seem to really like the tea time videos where I talk about various topics. I really, really, really want to do more of those. I think they're interesting, and it's good to pull in people who are interested in Let's Plays. And I totally get, understand people not being interested in that. And I just like to talk. Obviously, I like to run my mouth a lot, especially when it's about video games. And I'm sure everybody thinks that their own opinion or viewpoint of a situation is unique and intelligent. But I think that I tend to have a very logical look, and I try to be unbiased. Now, I obviously make, smarmy comments all the time. But when I'm actually analyzing something, it's like, okay, is this legit, or what's causing this? When I'm looking at it seriously, I try to be logical and dissect to get it in a more analytical, objective way, instead of just like making off the cuff emotional responses. So I think that's the possible thing maybe that I bring to the table that some people are interested in. Maybe not, but like I say, some people seem to enjoy those. So, but anyway, yes, that's part of the reason. Those are the reasons I upload so much. Also, of course, I have a lot of time right now, so that helps. How long will you be doing Let's Plays on YouTube? I don't have any plans to stop. I want to start streaming more, but even if somehow my stream became way more popular than the YouTube channel, I am like swerving back and forth. I'm really weird tonight. I got some weird sleep, so I'm a little off today. Sorry about that. But anyway, I plan on not stopping. I love Let's Plays. Even if the people who tune in or subscribe or whatever are more interested in the Let's Tries, and they're more interested in the tea time, and they're more interested in the podcast, I still want to do Let's Plays. I enjoy doing Let's Plays. I know a lot of folks, a lot of big YouTubers who've gotten big on Let's Plays have started to kind of veer away from them, and they start more doing like one-offs or just doing previews and reviews. And I totally understand that. But I like doing Let's Plays so much that I don't want to stop doing them. So the answer to that question is hopefully not anytime soon is when I'm going to stop doing Let's Plays. And Nate Cunningham, did I say your name? I don't think I did. Sorry. Nate Cunningham also asked, and what inspires you to continue? Well, I kind of answered that before. Basically, my desire to get the channel larger, and my desire to eventually have enough people interested and enough people viewing that I can make this a full-time job. And again, even if I couldn't ever make enough money on this, because tomorrow, Obama said it's impossible to make money from video game videos on YouTube and Twitch, because I'm sure he totally cares about that stuff. If that happened, I would still do it, because I like the challenge of making interesting content, the challenge of making consistent commentary that's funny slash entertaining slash informative. And I like the challenge of trying to get people into the channel, promoting my channel and what have you. That's what inspires me to continue. Nacho Bull, someone else who has been around for a long time. This is a question I've wanted to ask for a long time. Dost thou even hoist? Yes, I do hoist. Very small things, usually like ho-hos or Twinkies. Do people even eat Twinkies anymore? I don't know. I love Twinkies. I haven't had one in a long time, but I do love them. Cookies, other things, I hoist those into my mouth all the time. Mark Johnson asks, why are you so awesome? Well, there's a few parts to that. There's part of it's just born. I just innate awesomeness. And two, it's just age and experience as you become older. Being older sucks. Getting older totally blows. But one of the trade-offs is you do become more awesome, theoretically, as long as you just kind of grow and learn and try to use that large amount of wisdom that you've gained over the years. You'll naturally just become more awesome. So those are the big things. That's why I'm so amazingly awesome. Void Hand says, what do you think of Kingdom Cometh Deliverance? I keep hearing about that. I haven't looked at it at all. So I'm honestly not sure what it is at all. Sorry. I'm so weird. It's like I try to keep on the gaming news because I think that's part of what I want to do as a job. Is I need to keep on top of gaming information. But then there's these games that just pop out of nowhere, and I'm like, and they get all this hype, and I'm like, I completely missed this game. It's like, why is people talking about it all of a sudden? And Kingdom Cometh Deliverance, I think I've heard people talk about that recently. I need to look into it and see what's going on with that. And Void Hand also asks, what is your current favorite show / book series? I don't watch much TV. I am not a TV watcher. The only TV I watch is on Netflix. And usually that's only when the girl that I'm dating comes over. And we usually watch like Archer or Arrested Development, which are both good shows. I love Archer. Archer is goddamn hilarious. But my favorite show / book series are the same. Game of Thrones, / Song of Ice and Fire for you book nerds. I absolutely love the books and the show. I am Game of Thrones is, and I'm just going to call both of them Game of Thrones because it's easier than saying Song of Ice and Fire. Game of Thrones is my Star Trek or my Star Wars or my Doctor Who or my Firefly. I never really got into that whole huge fandom for any of those before. I thought, some of that stuff was okay. Pretty cool. But I was never like, oh yeah, this is what I want to talk about all day. But with Song of Ice and Fire, even though I just said I'd call it Game of Thrones, both the show and the books are so amazing. I'm reading through book 5 now. I'm 65% through, I think. They're just so goddamn good. And I always have to keep myself in check when I'm talking to someone about it who isn't a huge fan, which is pretty much no one I know except for the girl I'm dating. She's also a big fan. But even her, I don't think she's as huge of a fan as I am. So I have to check myself, or I'll go on an hour-long binge of talking nonstop about Game of Thrones. And if you follow me on Twitter, I'll run into those issues or those bumps where I'll do nothing for 3 hours except for watch Game of Thrones clips on YouTube. But yeah, I am crazy about that show and the TV and the books. I absolutely love them. If you have not read the books or watch the series, you need to watch it. You need to fix that shit immediately. Those are incredibly good. Lid to Zzz asks another question. How old is your cat and what's her name? Because she's adorable. First off, yes, she is adorable. Oh, she's sleeping right now. I'll probably wake her up in a second. In fact, I'm going to wake her up now. Hold on. I'm going to edit that out in case you saw my ass. That's gross. Hold on. Here's the kitty. Oh. Okay, she loves being woken up. She hates hell. So I won't hold her long. Yeah, she is adorable. All right, go back to bed. How old is she? She is. I'm not 100% sure. I don't remember exactly when I got her. When I got her, she was really young, like a kitten. But I think we've guessed she's probably about 13, 14 years old now. She's pretty old. I got her when I was probably 23-ish, and I'm 35 now. So I've had her for a long time. And what's her name? Her name is Kitty. Yes, I'm very creative, as you can tell. But in my defense, I named her Kitty, like Kittie, partially as it's kind of homage to one of my, at the time, favorite bands, which is a girl band called Kitty. You want to look them up. They've got some pretty cool songs. But, and I think they're actually still around somehow, which is amazing. But yeah, her name is Kitty, and she's about 12, 13 years old, somewhere in there. But yeah, she is adorable. And last we have James Yee. What do you think is the best way to build an audience? If I knew that, I would have 100,000 subscribers. But I think there are some, and keep in mind, I'm answering this question from someone who does not have a large audience. I'm doing this from like my opinion and from what I have heard actual large YouTubers say. And I think one of the most important things I hear all the time is to be consistent. Upload consistently. Even if it's just once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever. Be consistent. Don't like upload, 3 times in 1 week and then you don't upload again for a week or 2. And then you upload 6 videos over 2 days and then 1 video next week and whatever. Be consistent with your uploads. It doesn't have to be the exact same time every day, even though that doesn't hurt. And if you notice, I actually do try to upload at a schedule of my videos, but just, try to be consistent with your uploads. Another thing is, getting your name out there, and social media helps a bit with that. Getting to know other Let's Players, and getting to know game developers, things like that. Streaming when you can. Streaming is kind of the new hotness. A lot of people won't watch Let's Plays, but they'll watch streams. So that's another possibility. And obviously playing new games can help. And, some people who are like, oh, I hate Let's Players who do the brand new games, which that's some stupid holdover from the Something Awful forums. But the problem is, if you do new games, so is everybody and their grandmother, right? So you just kind of have to get lucky there. I got lucky with Skyrim. In fact, a lot of you watching this might actually have come in from my original Skyrim series. I never thought my Skyrim series would be popular. The reason being is twofold. One, I was like, okay, everybody's doing Skyrim, or everybody's going to do, because I started playing on day 1. I thought, okay, everybody is going to be Let's Playing Skyrim. So I'm going to do it because I want to. I'm going to do it because my current subscribers might want to watch it. And like I said, just because I want to. And 2, I thought the Stealth Archer was very popular build. And I thought, okay, everybody's going to be doing a Stealth Archer. Well, a lot of people will be doing Stealth Archer. So, I will get lost in the sea of other folks. So I never thought it would be popular. But it turns out, and even today, even 2 years later, Skyrim is still one of my biggest, most popular videos and one of my biggest subscriber draws over the long term. It's pretty weird, amazing when you think about it. In fact, that's why I started doing Skyrim again, because I was like, well, people obviously still want to see Skyrim. So I'll just start doing it again. So that's how I did that. But yeah, do popular games, try to stand out in some way. Like everybody and their mother does Let's Plays these days. So you might want to try to find something that makes you different. I honestly don't have a way that makes me different. I guess the only way would be is I upload a lot and I try to diversify. I do Let's Tries, I do Tea Times, I do the podcast. So I do try to mix it up. I guess that's my only thing that makes me different. I don't know. But yeah, getting to know other Let's Players, being active on social media, trying to get getting in with maybe other bigger YouTubers, that doesn't mean, and this is like a huge crime, the Let's Players crime. Don't like send a message to PewDiePie or Northern Lion or some other Let's Player that you like and say, hey, would you do a collab, or hey, would you do a shout out for my channel? Don't do that. Do you know how many times or how many people get those messages? Or like, I bet Northern Lion gets at least 10 requests a day for either a shout out or a collab or something like that. Don't do that. You're not going to get one, especially if you haven't built any kind of rapport with these people. If you can build one, sure. Just try to talk to these people, again, Twitter being the best way to do that, or their streams or whatever. And I'm not saying get to know them just so that you can do a collab. Get to do it because you like them. Like I tweet at Northern Lion sometimes just because I like him and because I think I have an interesting response to something he has to say or whatever. I don't do it because I think, ooh, I really want to milk him. Ooh, I don't want to think about milking Northern Lion, but you milk some kind of relationship just so I can get a collab. It's not like that. But at the same time, it is important to network, I think, especially nowadays when there's so many YouTubers or so many folks out there doing video game Let's Plays. So I guess that would be some of the best ways, I think, to build an audience. Also, make sure your quality is good, right? It doesn't matter. And I've got a whole video on So You Want to Be a Let's Player. So I won't get into it too much, but make sure your quality is good. Your video quality is good. Your audio quality is good. Make sure your audio balance is pretty good. There's no, weird noises in the background, or your sound is overpowering your voice, or any of this other stuff. Because all the time I hear excuses of, well, I can't afford a mic, so my sound is going to be bad. Well, if your sound's going to be bad, nobody's going to watch you, right? Maybe 5 years ago, 4 years ago, if you had crappy sound, people might just suffer through it. It was the standard. Not anymore. The standard is like 720p, good video, good game audio, good game video was as good as it's going to be on YouTube, and, clear commentary, audio, all that. I mean, you can find somebody who has crappy audio / video and is popular, but they are the exception, not the rule. So those are like the bare minimums anymore. Let's see, this is again James G. What do you think of the rise of Kickstarter and crowdfunding in general? I think that it's a good thing, but as with many good things, it's going to be abused, and there's going to be failures, and people need to be wary. But the problem I see with there's multiple problems with Kickstarters. I'm going to get that sentence out. I'm going to back up and go at it a few times, but I'm going to get that sentence out. I always do this a lot too. It's like you what, girlfriend? Anyway, I like Kickstarter and I like crowdfunding, but the problem is this stuff starts off like the whole crowdfunding thing was relatively new last year. That's when it was really, really hot. Like, it's still hot now, but it's really started to first pick up steam like early last year, I think it was. Maybe even before that. I don't really remember. Actually, yeah, it's probably 2 years ago. Anyway, and people jump into it like, oh yeah, I'm going to fund these 50 different projects, whether it's video games or otherwise. I'm going to fund all these projects and throw money at it and blah, blah, blah. Well, 1, 2, 3 years later, some of these projects either failed completely, or the person running it runs off with the money, or the product comes out and it's crappy, or whatever, and people get this bad taste in their mouth. Oh, well, Kickstarter / crowdfunding, it's stuck. It sucks. It's garbage. It's like, that's the wrong way to look at it. That's like going into the stock market, hearing about the Warren Buffetts, hearing about the people who've made all this money doing stocks, and throwing random money into the stock market, losing that money, and then saying, well, the stock market is crap. It's just a game. It's all random. It's the same thing here. You've got to be smart about the system. And just because there's been some bad apples, whether intentional or not, because there's been some flops, doesn't mean the system itself is bad, right? The system is good. You just got to be smart. Like, if you see some game that has like no end game shots at all, just some concept art, a bunch of people who have no experience in the industry, nobody you've ever heard of, and they want $1 million. But the game is like, and the things they want to do is like, we were making an MMO, an open MMO with full crafting, raiding PvE, and full scale siege PvP. And our goal is $500,000. You should go, this doesn't sound right. Like, you've got to exercise your judgment. You can't just say, well, that sounds great. Here's $50. Here's $100. I mean, you can, but you can kiss goodbye to that money. And so you got to use your own judgment. It's the same thing with the early access crap, right? There's too many people who are already bad-mouthing early access because they threw money, or they have a friend who threw money at some early access game and either A, didn't know what they were getting into, they didn't realize they're jumping into the alpha of a game, or a beta in some cases, or the early access is just really poorly handled for that game. And so they write off all of early access. It's the same thing. You've got to be smart with your money about this. And you've got to look at it, and you got to do at least a little bit of legwork. But it's internet age, so I guess it's finger work. It sounds a little perverted. But anyway, you got to do a little bit of research yourself and decide, the people who are working on this project, do they have any experience? Are their goals realistic? Is the amount of money they're asking for realistic? A great example, I think, that made me nervous. Well, and I did a podcast, or not a podcast, but I did a tea time on this. See how I work everything into a self-promotion? See, that's kind of one of the things you learn. And too many people think, oh, self-promotion, that's scuzzy. It can be, but there's ways to do it not scuzzy. Anyway, I do have a video on this, but talk about the Kickstarter for Pantheon, Rise of the Fallen, which is an MMO that's on Kickstarter. They seem to have the experience. They've got Brad McQuaid, who, I'm not crazy about him as an MMO designer, but he's obviously got a lot of experience. And he's got some other folks who have MMO experience. And they seem to have semi-realistic expectations for an MMO. Like, there's going to be no crafting at the start. I think no PvP at the start. So they're focused, which is good. But they only have like $800,000 goal, which is, for an MMO, is insanely low. No, I won't say insanely, but it's very, very low for an MMO. And there's more to it than that. But when you see something like that, you should immediately start kind of scratch your head and go, it's like this sounds a little shady. And even when you give money to people who are veterans, like the Double Fine, if I remember right, I think there were some things that kind of went down with that. Like they had to push back the date, or they ended up splitting it up, and it originally wasn't going to be split up. I could be wrong on that. But I just remember hearing something about how they ended up not having enough money. And these are industry veterans. You got to keep in mind, some of these people who are veterans, they're veterans and they have like design experience or programming experience. That doesn't mean you can I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but that you can form a team and get a good project out the door. Look at John Romero. John Romero, wow, I've really went off the topic, haven't I? John Romero, obviously, he was really good with id, but he was not a good project leader. He was not a good manager. And, you got to have good management with something like that. And a lot of these companies don't. So I guess, overall, yes, I think it's great that we're seeing a rise of this, but I think we're going to start seeing it be abused, because I think we've already seen some large companies, like I can just wait for the EA to have a Kickstarter for some game, right? Or some other big company who uses Kickstarter, or maybe they probably won't use Kickstarter. They'll do their own thing. Square Enix already has something, and I forget the name of it. And it's some kind, I forget how it works, and I forget what it's called, but it's kind of like a mini version of a Kickstarter where people vote on project ideas, and then the ones that win, they'll kind of put their back behind, but it still has to get funded somehow. I can't remember the details. And I think that's okay, but you have to be careful, because I think some of these companies will say, well, screw it. We'll do early access, or we'll do a Kickstarter, and we'll eliminate the risk of the initial money for this game we were going to make anyway, and still only put X amount of money into it and still charge the same price and all that. But anyway, it's going to be interesting to see how it goes forward. And I think it's great for indie devs, but we are starting to see a problem where now that there's so many indie devs going, hey, I'll put my game on Kickstarter, and people are being burned by other Kickstarter projects, that it's harder to get that money, right? It's harder for them to get that money. So it might be a bubble that's going to burst, and it might turn into a situation, ironically, where only the big name, big experience people can raise the money. And you would kind of think those people could probably get that money from investors anyway. So we'll have to see. It's very interesting. And I do like the rise of crowdfunding in general. And it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I've said that about 6 times. Have you heard of Kickstarter Conversations? Total plug for myself. Feel free to ignore. Well, it's too late now, James Yee, for me to ignore it. I actually did look it up, and I've already forgotten what it was. Hold on. Let me look it up. Wasn't that a like a page where you're talking about the various Kickstarters? I think. Yeah, check it out. It's Kickstarter-conversations.com. See, I gave you a plug. I'm such a swell guy. Or you could just search for Kickstarter Conversations. I think it's an interesting look because, and I think this can fill an interesting niche because there's so many Kickstarters now. It's insane. Even just game Kickstarters, there's too many to keep track of anymore. So it would be cool to have a site that goes through and kind of sifts through the crappy ones, because people send me, as my channel's gotten bigger, I get more and more indie devs sending me things. And sometimes it's for Kickstarter. They'll say, my game, I'm working on it for Kickstarter, or we have a Kickstarter going. Here's a demo of the game. Can you feature it on your channel? And quite frankly, sometimes those games, I look at them and I look at their goals. I look at what they've given me. I look what they have, and I look how much money they want. And I can pretty much already know that, well, I feel strongly that 1, it probably won't get backed. And 2, even if it did, I feel like they would either need more money or need more time or both to finish the game, given the state that the game is when they send it to me. So it would be good to have a site that goes through and kind of features the cool Kickstarters, whether it's games or just all of Kickstarter as a whole, and kind of picks the ones that look really good and interesting from the ones that look like, that probably is not going to work. That's probably going to bomb one way or the other. Anyway, that looks like all of the comments. Thank you guys for sending me your questions. By the way, I just want to point out 104 views on my Q&A session, I Need Your Questions video, but yet only like 17 questions. 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Only 17 questions. So at least like 1/5 of the people who viewed this video asked the question, what's wrong? I understand actually, because sometimes I'll see somebody put a video up and I'm like, I can't think of any questions to ask you. But I might do these, a little bit more often because I just like talking about myself. Who doesn't? Let's be honest. Q&As are excuses for the channel owner to talk about themselves. That's exactly what it is. And they're fun to do. So, maybe do it more. This is the second one I've done in like the 3 years I've run the channel. So anyway, that is it. Thank you guys for watching, and thank you guys for subscribing. As always, follow me on Twitter. If you want to contact me on Twitter, just shoot me a message. I should have it in the description below this video. If I don't, it's always on the homepage of the channel, so you can just click it there. I'm going to try to be more active on Google+, but we'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
No kidding. Oh, you tired after working all day? Oh. How do you do it? Busting your ass all day? Trying to decide, where am I going to sleep next? What chair do I sleep in? Should I claw the couch some more and get yelled at? It's a very rough life that you lead. Isn't it right? Oh, yes it is. She's like, is that you? Yes, it's still me, Cat. There's nobody else here, so yes. You better hope it's just me. Psst, psst. Psst, psst, psst. You blind. She's got some vision issues. Probably partially because she's partially Siamese and partially because she's old. Psst, psst, psst. Kidding. Say bye. Oh, you are saying bye.